Welcome to the Executive Innovation Show podcast, where we bring you real executive conversations with industry game changers and thought leaders. We ask the questions you're thinking, what you're scared to ask, and we make your brain hurt afterward. With your host, Carrie Chitsey Wells, co-founder and CEO of One Touch Video Chat, live video interviews, and the nonprofit Humans Helping Humans.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. We've got a great HR podcast for you today. We're going to be talking about what matters most to job candidates when selecting a workplace. I have two great guests with us today. First on the show, we have Michele McDermott, who is the Senior Vice President at Assurance, one of the largest and most awarded independent insurance brokerage companies in the U.S., consistently named a top place to work. Michele is responsible for maintaining the company's best place to work culture, driving the development of current and future leaders, and developing new programs that minimize risks and maximize health for the company's employees. Our second guest on the show is going to be Rachel, who's going to be the co-founder and CEO of EverythingBenefits.com and the leading provider of next-gen automated benefit technology. And she's going to be on the show later. But Michele, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Carrie.
Well, great. I love talking to folks that have been a top place to work, especially in the insurance industry, which is typically not the most sexy job to have. However, you guys have made it sexy and fun to attract younger demographics at Assurance. Tell me, what does it look like? You guys have been named kind of top place to work. And, how is it when, especially in your industry, to really create that type of culture to make it, be a sought after place to work?
Yeah, it is interesting. There aren't a whole lot of young folks going into college saying, gosh, I really want to be in insurance when I grow up. So we have a little challenge in front of us as we try and attract some great talent to our business. I think Assurance does a few things really well. One that really strikes a chord with younger folks today is that sense of purpose. And you mentioned it in your intro, minimizing risk and maximizing health. We call it MRMH for short. And it is all about something bigger than ourselves, something bigger even than the company, that attracts people to work somewhere where they think they're making a difference in the world. And the work we do for our clients in helping them reduce worker injuries or have better wellness programs, minimizing all of that risk they face as a business and maximizing the health of their employees. Yeah, we don't have any trouble getting people excited to get out of bed and come here and do work every day, which is
right.
A really, really cool thing.
And a big task.
It is a huge task. It's not always easy to find that connection in insurance.
Right.
It's one of those things you think, gosh, what is the bigger purpose? Like how are we making a difference in the world? I think we also do a lot of charitable work too. And I think that's becoming something more and more important today. And having that component.
For younger demographics, that's very attractive that companies are giving back and have a cause that everybody can feel a part of.
Exactly. Another thing I think job candidates are looking for in a company is some flexibility. That if you can be a company that has the ability to let folks work remote for a day or have a flex schedule, you might start later, but then you stay later, or you might sign off early and plug back in at home. I think people are working differently today, and it really does help Assurance that we recognize that and we give people the ability to work sometimes not in your normal, typical 8 to 5 manner.
Yeah, that is definitely so critical with, especially with, a lot of companies talk about work-life balance, and work-life balance doesn't have to mean that everybody gets to take a bunch of time off. It means that a lot of people work differently. A lot of people have different family schedules, sleep schedules, things like that. And as long as folks are putting in the time and the work ethic, people like to work in different manners. And so it's great that you guys have recognized that. I want to talk about, you guys pride yourself on being a fun place to work and not taking yourself too seriously. How do you really get that across to prospective talent kind of day one in the, recruiting and interviewing process? And then how do you kind of measure that you're getting the right employees that kind of have that fun mentality as well?
Well, it's kind of a bigger thing, I guess, a more well-rounded thing when we're looking at candidates. For us, it starts with how we describe the job. I guess the very first impression someone might get of our company is reading what our job description says. And we revamped them all a few years ago. And again, you mentioned we don't take ourselves too seriously. So our job descriptions do the very important, very serious thing of conveying what a job is. But the front page of the job description says, you deserve the rock star treatment, and there's no backup singers in our band. This isn't your old boring job description, and it's kind of the front page of how we first convey to prospective employees that you are special, you're a rock star to us, and you're about to read what this job is all about. But it isn't all so serious that we can't have a little fun with it.
I love that. We were just talking recently about how to make, kind of the boring tax job descriptions really stand out from the clutter. And that's hilarious. I really love that. So,
yeah, it's really funny. I mean, here, I'll read just another snippet. Consider this as your all access pass to go behind the scenes and find out what it takes to achieve success on the assurance stage. So we really take it of all the way through into that whole rock star arena. And I think it just makes people smile, and it makes people like, oh, you know what? I want to be there.
So that brings up a question that, marketing is becoming more of a role in HR than it ever has before. And historically, HR and marketing are, completely different departments, work separately, things like that. But to me, that sounds like a marketing message to prospective job candidates. So the question is did you guys get marketing involved to kind of come up with some of that terminology, or was that purely a HR kind of creative play?
Definitely a partnership between HR and marketing. I think here at Assurance, it's recognized that so much of who we are is in the tone and how we communicate. We have a more informal tone. It's how we convey regularly after people come on board that we don't take ourselves too seriously. And we have the best marketing team out there. And so from really day one, I have partnered directly with marketing in making sure that we keep the message consistent. It wouldn't probably work very well if all of the marketing messages say one thing and then all the HR messages have a completely different tone. We're very aligned, and we work on a lot of projects together to make sure that our employees never miss a beat, and it never feels like they're having whiplash because communication gets different from different people.
Yeah, that's so critical to make sure you have that message all the way across. We've had a lot of talk, and it's been all over, anywhere you open up and read anything, that what matters to millennial job candidates is different than other generations. And you guys are attracting more younger demographics, trying to make more people think about insurance as a profession and as a career with that younger demographic. Are you hearing things differently, maybe over the last couple of years, that you've heard from other generations of employees about what really matters to them the most on a workplace and them selecting a company to go work for? What does that look like for you guys?
There's probably a couple things, Carrie, that come to my mind for that question. One, a question that I never heard 5 years ago that I hear all the time now is how much a company is involved in the community. And I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but this has come forward as something candidates find extremely important to them, that the company they work for has similar values and making sure that they give back to the community. And the benefit we offer of all of our employees get a day off every year to volunteer at a charity, and we organize dozens of days at different charitable organizations that our employees nominate. the fact that we do that and that we do it in such a strong and powerful way, we can answer that question when candidates ask it. Is your company involved in the community? Are you doing anything to give back? It's become table stakes, and I wasn't hearing that question years ago at all. So I'm very proud of the fact that I can answer it very successfully here at Assurance. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's definitely, one of the top things that we've definitely seen. And I think you alluded to the flexibility as well. We found that, flexible kind of work from home sometimes, and kind of this balance of not just being a typical 8 to 5 has kind of risen to the top for younger demographics as well.
Sure. And the other thing I would mention is sort of career options. So it speaks to flexibility a bit more as well, that, we look at opportunity within our company. It isn't always a straight path upwards, promote to that next thing right above you. We look at projects that people can get involved in. We look at people who have moved across different departments laterally to get different experience. We're very open to people within our company moving around to different departments and trying different things. In fact, I think half of my HR team are people who were in the company joining as an insurance client service representative who had a passion for HR and jumped over into my team. So we always look to provide those types of opportunities for people looking to join our company, so that they know that it's not just you're stuck in this role and you have to wait for someone above you to leave.
No, that's great. You guys have done a really good job, obviously, as being a top place to work, appealing to that younger demographic. How are you doing that in the recruiting process that may be different than some other industries, or even, your competitors in insurance and other areas? Appealing to that younger demographic, are you guys having a presence on college campus, or are you doing more digital to reach folks where they're actually looking for positions? Of how are you reaching those kind of passive candidates versus just the folks that are, kind of more the unemployed or underemployed that might be on the job boards? Have you found anything that has been beneficial in getting kind of those fun, younger demographics that is might be tips for others outside of insurance?
Well, it's always a challenge to get in front of the kids coming out of college. You want to be on their mind. You want to make sure your message is out there. I think we do a great job being out there on social media, and our employees are out sharing on social media the things that they're doing, whether it's our ACT Day where they're helping at a charity, or our Employee Appreciation Day. We're very present out there in all the media channels and encourage our employees to do that regularly. We created a few years ago an internship program that has taken off, and that's really done a great job getting our name out there on more college campuses. For a 500-person company, it's fairly unusual to have as many interns as we have, but we bring on 20 to 25 interns a summer, and they stay with us for 8 to 10 weeks, and we teach them about insurance, and we break down all those myths that people might have about working in insurance by exposing them to it firsthand. And it's been hugely successful for the company, and it does get the buzz out there about our company. When those students go back to college, they're talking about their summer at Assurance, and the word is really getting out. And we've had several of those interns come back, 2 years, or on their third year, they're joining us full time. So we're pretty proud of that program and how it's improved over the past few years.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think more and more internships, and there's a lot of companies now doing what you'd call internships, but more right out of high school, given our Gen Zs are not going to go to college as much as previous generations. So I think we'll see some kind of change up in internships over the next few years as we have more Gen Zs coming into the workforce as well. So my last question for you on the show, Michele, is we love to really talk to executives on what's keeping them up at night, or what's really making them kind of think about things coming up, whether it's, the rest of this year or upcoming the next year, what are one or two things that's keeping you up at night in regards to the upcoming next year or so?
One of the areas we're paying a lot of attention to is training, and specifically training the younger folks to become supervisors for the first time or managers. Mm-hmm. Everything is changing all of the time, and there's so many skills, soft skills, that as a supervisor or manager that you need in order to be able to be flexible and adapt when challenging situations come up. So what keeps me up at night is making sure we have the best possible support system and training for people who are becoming managers and supervisors for the first time. It really can make or break the experience for the employee. The relationship with their manager is the most important. And so we are doing a lot right now around having just the top of the line new manager training program that can help us retain the culture we've created. And it creates even more loyalty for people who are able to come up through our company, and we fully prepare them to be as successful as possible in that very important role. So I would say training new leaders is an area of focus.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we look forward to continuing to follow you guys' journey. Thank you so much, Michele, for being on the show. I'm going to bring Rachel on the show. Michele, thanks so much. It was so great, all the insights you shared, and we will continue to follow you guys' journey.
Thank you so much, Carrie. It was fun to be on.
Awesome. Our next guest we have on the show today is Rachel Lyubovitzky, co-founder and CEO of EverythingBenefits.com, the leading provider of next-gen automated benefits technology that uncovers hidden costs, eliminates errors, and helps companies be compliant. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Well, great. We've been talking about digital benefits and really how that's changed for HR departments and companies with this digital employee world that we live in. There's a lot of kind of one platform companies out there that are even offering benefits down to SMBs. What are the biggest changes that you've seen on the benefits side over the last 3 to 5 years?
I would have to say that it's probably having to do something to do with the richness of the benefits offerings and also expectations on the part of the consumers, which are in part millennials, to have that benefits experience at their fingertips. If you think about it, maybe 5 years ago, a typical employer would be looking to offer medical, dental, vision. If you talk to the applicants today, some of the things that they're expecting to hear about are tuition reimbursement, loan repayment, and even pet insurance.
Nice. And so, as you know, we have 75% of the workforce being millennials within the next, 6 months, 9 months, and 2020 right around the corner here. And the millennials, this may be the first time that they've actually selecting benefits, outside of mom and dad. Are you seeing companies that have obviously, employees across every demographic? What are you seeing that are different in the benefits kind of not only selection, but how they want to consume benefits information, millennials versus some of the other demographics?
I think millennials as a group very much value their independence. And so they want to seek out their own answers rather than wait for the HR administrator to give it to them. They want to find those answers easily. They want these answers to be accessible on whatever devices they're on. And they want those answers quickly. That said, I think as a group, and I think that's true for employees in general, it's a very complex space, and many continue to be rather uneducated on, what is really the optimal product lineup for them, given where they are in their lives. And if you think about a typical millennial that, as you said, is coming off of mommy's and daddy's insurance, they tend to overcover themselves and get a little bit more than they really should, given that by and large they're, healthy, wellness conscious group. So they tend to cover, to buy benefits that probably would be a better fit for their parents.
And so as we look at the benefits choices, you mentioned earlier that, pet insurance and some other tuition reimbursement, things that millennials are, asking questions about and interested in. What benefits for the younger demographics outside of those are you seeing that are popular, or ones that will be in more demand kind of coming down the pike for millennials, as well as, Gen Zs that are coming into and, in the workforce now as well?
So tuition reimbursement, loan repayment, and pet insurance are definitely very high on the list of things that they ask about. But some of the additional things that we're seeing coming down the road are financial wellness products that allow them to start planning a little better about, believe it or not, their retirement, and how to best allocate their salary pre and post tax to sort of maximize the benefits they're getting. Pretty sophisticated outlook from that group. I have to say that's probably the biggest ones. I think the other one that we are seeing happen a little bit is consuming and being able to access some of the benefits from their mobile device, be it telemedicine or other related services that, again, they have ability to gain immediate gratification.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, as we talk about a lot on the podcast about healthcare, and we have, the higher deductibles than we've ever seen before, just because health insurance is so expensive. And so telemedicine and, being able to see a doctor remotely has been a big preference for younger and even Gen X's, to really keep them out of, the ER and some of the clinics where they have a very high copay. And so as we have more and more higher deductibles, I think we'll be seeing more of that, to not only for a convenience factor, but because of the higher copays and the higher deductibles. Are you getting a lot of questions on that with this demographic?
Definitely. These copays are kind of a big bad wolf that's making a lot of folks in that age group and that demographic uncomfortable. They have, after all, pretty large loan repayments hanging over them, so they're definitely looking for the ways that can get them faster to the services they need, and at a better rate.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier about millennials wanting information instantly. That has led to a lot of culture changes across all demographics, just in the way that we, can click a couple buttons on Amazon and have stuff this afternoon, and do the same with food and groceries and a bunch of other things. And that changes a lot of times the way that we like to consume information. And benefits historically have been, during enrollment time, you get the paper booklet, or maybe it's on the internet or whatever it may be. And you kind of have to sift through yourself all the different benefits and, really get down to that kind of decision day on what you want to do. In consuming that information, there's been a lot of talk with HR departments on how that's best portrayed, and then what's the right communication channel with employees, to get that instant information or consume that better through, multimedia and videos and things like that. Where do you see that headed, not only on the consumption of understanding folks' benefits, but then being able to communicate or ask questions to their HR partners?
There's definite momentum towards, again, accessing that information using the electronic means. It's a kind of a mortifying thought to walk over to your HR department and be served a bunch of booklets, as you mentioned. They do want to consume that information on their cell phone or on their work computer. They'd like to see videos. They'd like to see sort of quick, digestible bits of information. And I think what's also probably on the near horizon, especially for the generation that's coming off of Amazon-like shopping experience, is what are the right pieces for me? What's right for me, for somebody like me in my age group and where I am in my life? what are some of the best products that others had picked. So they're definitely looking to have insights like that, not just what's out there, but who is using it and why is it good for them, so they can measure it up against their own needs.
Absolutely. So we've asked everybody on the show today, Rachel, kind of where do you see anything innovative in the benefits space or any major changes kind of in the next 12 months? What's your prediction? What do you see in the next 12 months? What should we be looking out for?
I think in general, if you're talking about the business world, we are living in a year of employer power. It's been a very long, torturous journey over the past 6 years or so towards ever increasing premium costs and ever increasing demand, partially fueled by millennials for better, richer benefits packages. So at this point, a lot of employers are taking a step back and thinking, what are some of the ways I can control the spend and start to measure the ROI and understand that as an employer, what are some of the ways that I can, what are some of the action items I can take to control the spend and to really deliver a more competitive offering to my employees, as you're fighting with the other employers for that available workforce. So we're going to see a lot of employers taking really creative steps to create really unique packages for their employees and take some of the management in-house and start to use some of the latest technologies to really control what's happening in that portion of their operation.
Well, that sounds great. Well, we look forward to following your journey at Everything Benefits and everything you guys are doing there. I want to thank both of our guests for being on the show today. If you have any questions, feel free to submit those. Click on the links in the podcast notes if you want to learn more about our guests and the companies and why they're experts in their field. Feel free to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Thanks very much for being on the show, Rachel.
Thanks, Carrie. It's been a pleasure.
This podcast has come to a close. To hear more from the Executive Innovation Show podcast, subscribe, submit questions, and share the love. Follow us on social. We're everywhere.